I'm back on live again with a whole lot to talk about today. Whole lot of life updates, whole lot of NIL content, whole lot of NFL draft, NFL combine content. I'm just again trying to be more consistent with these lives, man, but I feel like a lot has happened since the last time that I got on live. So I kind of want to just come on and talk about what's going on. Talk about everything. I try to give honest and thoughtful sports takes and sports content. And I don't want to get on unless I'm able to provide that for the people. But so again, like I said, just a lot of different things that's been going on with me in the past couple days. But before I get into that, I want to make sure I got all my notes together. I don't really see anybody in the live right now, so I'm gonna wait for a couple people to get in there. Usually my lives be overrun with people. I might just use this as an opportunity to kind of vent what's been on my mind for these last couple weeks and kind of be a little unfiltered since there's nobody on. So one of the things, one of the life updates that has, happened to me within the past week is I got let go from my job in New Jersey. As many of I covered New Jersey high school football, and that was one of the true joys that I, truly value. You know what I mean? That I truly look forward to every year. Going down to New Jersey for Battle at the Beach, and being able to interact with all the different New Jersey media people and creators and photographers and videographers. Like that was like a highlight, of my year. Like the New Jersey high school football season was a highlight of my career. But with the company that I was working for, Prep Red Zone, taking a private equity investment, I had already knew at some point they was gonna have to do some type of, restructuring, so to speak, and I happen to be one of those people that got restructured. And when I'm trying to provide more life advice now that I'm getting older. I just turned 35, and turned 35 in December. Excuse me. I turned 35 in December, and one of the things I'm trying to do is help the next generation and help people that are maybe in a similar situation than me in terms of trying to find their way. Like I'm trying to give them a solid word. So in this specific, instance, the word that I wanted to give is, just never compromise on your value. Like if you know you're really good at something, first of all, like the Joker said, right? Back in back in the Dark Knight, the Joker said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. So that's first of all. And so secondly is if you're good at something, also don't, compromise your value, right? Especially if you know what you bring to the table and you've been working on your craft for, you know, X amount of years. Like stand on your value and the value that you bring to X company, right? Or the value that you just bring, period, right? It doesn't even have to be a company, it can be for yourself, right? And that was the situation that I was put in with Prep Red Zone, where they essentially told me, like, we'll call you when we need you. And it's like, when you've been working in sports for over a decade on multiple levels, from the NFL level all the way down to the high school level, and then you guys hire people who haven't done what I've done, or been in a situation where they take it as seriously as me, or they don't put in as much work, on me and as me. Like that doesn't sit right with me, right? So that's why I tell people like just never, compromise on your value, man. Always, stand up for yourself, advocate for yourself. That's what I tell my athletes. Make sure you're advocating for yourself, man. I appreciate also just want to stop and say I appreciate everybody that's in this live right now. Like, if you could share this live if you in here, I would greatly appreciate that. But so like I was saying, it was a situation where, they really just made me really stand on, what I believe my value is to that situation. And listen, everybody is replaceable, right? However, I personally feel like I'm one of the best out there. And again, I tell people all the time, one of the difference between me and a guy like Stephen A is that he has the backing and the money, right? And I'm not gonna sit here and like poo poo on his craft. Like it's a situation where he's worked, tirelessly, on his craft to be great, you know what I'm saying? But, I also have worked, tirelessly on my craft to be great. And again, it's just about going out and proving it, each and every day. And again, it was a situation where I wasn't willing to compromise my value and I wasn't willing to be disrespected, and be like, we'll call you back when we need you. It's just like, no, I'm not doing that. Y'all can go find somebody else that y'all can call back, when they need to. And this is where the time I want to stop and just praise and thank God for how good he is, right? For, you know, just him bestowing blessings upon me. I had lost my job, last week. And then now, this week I got a second interview with a company that looks pretty promising, right? So I'm just, very grateful for these new opportunities. And it's still in sports. I told somebody like I've been working in sports, my whole life. And I'm not at the point now where I want to, deviate or pivot from sports because of that since I've been I say 13 or 14 years old, I've always known that I wanted to work in sports, no matter I didn't even know what it looked like at the time. The only thing I knew is that I wanted to do it. And so, as a result, again, I'm not going to deviate and pivot from sports because I know that I'm really good at it. And that's another thing, man. Make sure that you have an unwavering amount of confidence in yourself. I'm not saying irrational. I'm saying have an unwavering confidence. Is football and basketball the only sport you follow? No, I also follow UFC too. Follow my man J dot do that. J dot do that MMA, I think is his name. And I follow him and I follow MMA, so I also love that sport as well. So yeah, I was again forced to be put in a situation where again, I was not going to compromise my value. And now, again, I'm in a situation where God has blessed me to, have a new opportunity ahead of me. And so I just wanted to stop and, thank God for the blessings that he bestowed upon me. So that's that, man. And that's kind of where I'm at now. And as you saw in my topics, I will be talking about some NIL. Like one thing people don't know about me, and I haven't really spoke about it like on live in a while, is I am I have my own sports agency, right? I've built it out with another guy who did one of the first NIL deals in the country, right? But I have an agency for student athletes where we do NIL deals, and we just completed a big deal, not completed, but we're in the midst of a big deal with Advantage Federal Credit Union here in the Rochester, New York area. And I'm really proud of that. And one of the things that's really bothering me, especially recently, I'll say it's ever since the transfer portal really opened, is the fact that there is an aggressive amount of media people and just people in general, constantly attacking agents, right? And what agents do. And so let me, preface my comments by saying, first and foremost, I'm not saying that there is no slimy agents. I'm not saying that there isn't agents that try to take advantage of kids. However, everything that in the media that they cover about agencies and agents, especially from on the NIL, oh, I gotta pause this. My bad, y'all. I'm trying to fix this picture, and I did not want to fix this picture. Oh, 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 crap. It's my favorite picture. We'll leave it like that for now. But, um, so yeah, so going back to the whole NIL. My bad for that, y'all. Going back to the whole NIL conversation. So it's a situation, and first of all, I want to, as I resume this live, I'm blundering very badly, but if you guys can share the live, I greatly appreciate it. Like the live, that'll be greatly appreciated by me. But going back to the NIL conversation, there has been an onslaught of media that has been attacking agents and agencies, and up until this point, I haven't really had the platform to say it, just because I actually got let go by one job before because I was working in the NIL space, and obviously it was frowned upon at that time, right? It was the beginning stages of this whole NIL situation, but they let me go because they felt like if I was working in NIL, I couldn't work for Rivals or On3 because they felt like that was a conflict of interest, right? I was getting preferential access to kids. However, my whole thing is too, looking back on that situation and looking forward now, there are NFL certified agents who also do NIL who are coaching on high school teams. I believe is Roman Catholic. It's either Roman Catholic in PA or LaSalle in PA has a coach on there who's an NFL certified agent and does NIL at the same time. So what was the difference between what I was doing, right, and then a coach coaching kids and basically cornering this competition and not having it be a situation where no one else can really have access to the kids but him. Like I don't see what the difference is between what I was doing and what he was doing, right? But again, I'm EJ Daniels, and everything gets magnified when I do something, right? So that was, it's a situation where I don't understand. I do and I don't understand why there has been such an onslaught on agents, just because not every agent in student athlete interaction has been negative, and that was one of my points, right? They act like a kid going out to seek an agent is such a negative connotating act. Like what the colleges really want is they want coaches to be agents, right? And so now you have coaches banding together, right? The AFCA, right? The American Federation of Coaches Association, whatever it's called. American Football Coaches Association, that's what it's called, right? They have banded together to, pretty much nudge Congress to go after agents, right? But so my question for this whole thing is, why is it okay for you guys to clamor for Congress to go after agents, but you guys want coaches to be agents, right? There's coaches who can't even do their jobs well, right? There's coaches, like if you were a Hall of Fame level high school coach, right, I will understand it, but like a lot of these coaches are not competent in anything other than just coaching. I have a massive disdain for a lot of coaches, not every coach, but a lot of coaches, because first and foremost, coaches believe they know now I'm talking about football coaches. Coaches believe that they know as much as God, right? And nobody can tell them nothing. And so now we getting into a space where there's a new landscape that they're not well versed in, but they also want to run it, and they want to gatekeep who certain colleges can talk to and who can't, right? If a kid wants a certain family friend to be an agent, right? Why is it a coach who doesn't have that kid's, in my opinion, who doesn't have that kid's best interest at heart, and who don't really know the kid, and who really wouldn't have much to do with the kid if he wasn't playing football for him? Why are those people the ones that can decide who can and can't do NIL deals. And that's another thing, going bringing me to my second point. There are a lot of people who sit and talk about NIL who have done absolutely nothing in the space, right? If you're an NFL PA certified agent, okay, cool, right? But if you're not an NFL PA certified agent, and then you're also talking about what people can and can't do, like it's like I said, it's a lot of these coaches that are talking. That's where I have an issue, right? Because coaches, are speaking and first of all, not trying to really understand. And they keep going back to this whole point about, well, they're street agents, taking 25 to 30%, from these kids. And I'm saying, well, who are these agents? Why are y'all not barring them? Players are way overpaid. Money should go to people that save lives. I mean, two things can be true. Money should go to people that save lives, and they should go to student athletes who make billions of dollars for colleges too. Two things can be true. But anyway, I'm just really at a point where I don't want to stay quiet anymore. Right? Again, I am in NIL. I have done multiple deals with big brands, Chick-fil-A, Subway, car dealerships. Like I've done and activated deals, with multiple brands. And so why is it a situation? And then I want to go back to this point too. I didn't say this, but this is another point that I hear from the coaches. The coaches don't like the fact that there are agents who don't do anything for the kids, right? But when they go from high school to college and get their rev share agreements, they just sit and basically pilfer their 25 to 30%. So, somebody like me who has been in the space since its inception, right, and has done multiple deals, right, and has provided real value for good student athletes. Again, why is what I'm doing, frowned upon, right? I've had a bunch of top student athletes and have been shunned away by coaches multiple times, right? And now it's a situation where I'm not even doing, rev share because of, this, that, and the third. But I thought it was, if you're not providing any value for the kids, you shouldn't be representing them. Okay. But that problem is already mitigated. Like I'm sitting here and we don't go to a kid unless we have a deal for them. Right. And so that's just one of the things. That whole, ecosystem is one thing that's really been bothering me. And again, I don't really have the platform, or I don't really get the opportunities to talk about this too much, just because I've been told on multiple occasions that, you probably shouldn't say nothing, blah, blah, blah. But like, no, I'm not about to sit here and keep being quiet on this subject while they let people who haven't done as much as my agency or me have done in this space, and they just let them just waltz on and be able to parade around on social media and say that they've done this deal and they've done that deal. They have this athlete and that athlete. Right? Why can't I sit here and talk about the value that I've provide in the marketplace? And that's my whole thing. Like, I don't understand. It's never an issue when someone else advocates for themselves, but when I advocate for myself and advocate for what I've done, now it's a problem. Right? And I'm saying that it's a problem because, again, what the gripe that the coaches have, I feel like I've debunked every one of these notions and these issues that they have, right? I've provided value, I've provided education, and not only education, we've provided financial education for them too. So I mean, that's just one of the things that puzzle me about this whole situation. Again, I don't really get opportunities to discuss this, but I just felt like today I was going to come on live and discuss it because it's something that's bothering me. Like I'm not really just transparent on here. But I decided to be today because I don't see any other people speaking up for the other side. I even see, there's an organization called Black Sports Moms, right? And they're trying to destroy and tear down agents. You know what I mean? To say like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this because what it is these Black sports moms, they educate in a community about Black sports. They educate a community of Black sports moms to educate themselves on what goes on with these contracts and these rev share agreements so they don't have to rely upon an agent, right? And so in theory, it sounds great, right? And this brings me to my next point, right? So I spoke about, why coaches I don't understand why coaches get to gatekeep NIL, right? I don't get that. Secondly, the issues that they're saying that they have with agents, I feel like my agency has done above and beyond what they said the issue were. So that's taking from them without providing them anything, right? That's what I heard from a trusted source on the inside is why they don't like agents, right? So so now I want to talk about the third point of what the issue is with this NIL situation. So NIL in on the collegiate level, right? It's not just NIL, it's NIL and rev share, right? So with rev share, right, that's the money that they get from the colleges. NIL is right the sponsorships that the colleges also put together for the kids to give them extra money, right? If you just saw LSU, what was that, a couple months ago, struck a deal with Nike to where they're going to give pretty much every player who signs with LSU, they're going to give them an NIL deal with Nike, right? So, my bad, I'm just reading the chat. So from the rev share side, the money that they actually get from the school, right? I have actually seen one of these agreements, right? I have seen one. I have looked at it multiple times. I'm not going to say which college it is because just my luck, it'll get back to that person or that college, and it'll just be a whole situation, another situation for me. But what I want to come on here and talk about is I have heard multiple times media people say, and people who aren't really well versed in this area and in this subject, to say, well, we feel like lawyers should be the only ones that's really helping these kids with rev share agreements, right? And to a certain degree, because even we have general counsel, right, for things that we don't understand in the contracts, right? Because some of these kids are putting together $1 million deals. So from that standpoint, I do understand that. However, one of the things I had to understand is what is the difference and what is the role of an agent, and then what is the role of a lawyer. A lawyer is just going to go and look through your agreement, make sure all of the wording is correct, and make sure that you're legally protected, within the parameters of the law and within parameters of the state law, right? That's what a lawyer is going to do. What an agent is going to do is also look over your contract, right? But when you really get into some SHIT, right, you are going to need somebody to help you find a new situation. And I say that because in these rev share agreements, they are requiring the kids initially to have to make the team. So before you even get any money, before you do anything, you have to make the team. And so that's another misconception about NIL and rev share that pisses me off, in the transfer portal, that pisses me off too, is because it's not just agents, imploring kids to get into the portal, right? I'm not saying that doesn't happen, because we just seen it happen with that kid from Clemson and that Dabo snitched on, right? You saw his agent put together that whole deal with Ole Miss and got him some extra M's, and now he was going to Ole Miss, and you heard about that whole story, right? But a lot of these kids are getting cut because they're not making the team, right? Remember, there are roster limits now. So you only get 105 spots. That's walk-ons, that's obviously scholarship players, and that's red shirts too. They kind of gets that 105. So now it's a situation where you can't keep everybody, right? Just because you commit to a school, that doesn't mean that you're actually going to make the team of said school. You actually have to go and be better than a lot of the guys that are on the team. And if you are not, you're going to get cut, and you're going to hop into the portal, and then you're going to be looking for somebody to find a new situation, right? And that is where an agent comes in, because an agent, you will be relying on his connections, his influence, his relationships to find a new situation for you to play at, right? And so my issue is with these, I'm trying not to curse on live. I don't want to curse on live because I know sometimes I got family members watching this, but the issue I have with these coaches is the same coaches that keeps telling you that these agents aren't providing value, these agents are trash, these agents are taking advantage of these kids. These are the same coaches that are cutting these kids and not helping them find a new situation. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that if you get cut from Alabama, that they need to help you get to another school like Auburn or another school in the SEC. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, once these coaches are done with you, they have no other type of communication with you. So, because we heard the words before. I don't know what you mean, Fitz. What do you mean, so, because we heard the words before? I don't know what you mean. Explain to me what you mean. But like I'm saying, they don't help them provide. They don't help them find another situation for them to exhaust and for them to play at. So why is it a situation where agents are always constantly, excuse my language, being shit on? Oh, you're saying go ahead and cuss. We heard. Yeah, bro, but man, I don't want some of our family members to see this and think away of me because I'm cursing. So I try to keep it as PG as I possibly can. But yeah, so these coaches are not gonna help you find another situation, right? And so that is where an agent really provides real value for you, right? Making calls, seeing what the landscape is, seeing who they're recruiting, at your position, right? Now I'm speaking of transfer portal now, right? Who they're trying to bring in, right? An agent is going to do all of those things for you, right? A lawyer is not going to do any of those things for you because you have to pay a lawyer for their time, right? You have to pay a lawyer for pretty much every minute, every second of their time. So this whole notion about, lawyers should be the one that run, the rev sharing should be the one that's handling the agreements. Like, no, that's not, because there's more involved than just being a lawyer and just going over the rev share, right? You have to be able to provide, as a good agent, from what I've been told and from what I've experienced, you have to be able to provide solutions when problems arise. And you can bet your bottom dollar that there will be an issue that will arise, especially now where money is involved and now everybody just doesn't make the team, right? There's going to be an issue. So I say all that to say that I am more than pissed off with the amount of people that consistently get on social media and talk as if they have such a great grasp upon a sector or a market that has only been around for 5 years, that's still proliferating and evolving. And so when you constantly, again, are online, SHITing on agents and what they do, and what they bring to the table, I have a huge issue with that, because being an agent was something I had wanted to be, since I was 14 years old, right? Somebody told me that, I should pick a career that's more attainable, right? But now with NIL and it proliferating day by day and the rules changing constantly, right now I'm able to live out that dream essentially, through NIL. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that going into the NFL would never be a thing that I would consider, but right now I love, working with the student athletes, and that can be a whole nother conversation of the challenges that comes with, working with student athletes and their families. Like, that's just a whole nother story. But I really just wanted to kind of stick to the rhetoric that is consistently around agents, how it's always negative. And I really do not see anybody else speaking up for agents or speaking up for the positives that agents provide for student athletes. And I am a person who has provided massive amounts of value for student athletes, and I will not sit by idly and then pretty much an entire media market who covers the area of college football and high school football, for that matter. I will not sit idly by and let them I will not let them consistently and continuously shit on the work that I've done. I understand that other people don't feel the way that I feel, and that's fine, right? But I have never been a person that has sat idly by and let people, degrade me or debase me in any way, shape, or form. And I will continue to keep speaking up for the good agents who actually provide real value for these kids, right? This is a bigger conversation because there's so many other layers that I didn't touch. But again, that's just something that I really just wanted to get off my chest and get on stream or get it out here in the content world where I can, chop it up and clip it up again and just kind of fight back, man. Because again, agents really don't have any say in this at all. And it's like everything that people hate about college football in this iteration, in this era, is all blamed on agents. And I just don't understand that. I get it. Let me not say I don't understand it. I'm sitting here saying that I don't feel like it's warranted, right? Because if you only look for negative interactions, if you only look for negative outcomes, then of course you're going to get negative outcome. You're going to find negative outcomes, especially if you go looking for them, right? And then on top of that, as a side note, you know, there is New York state law anyway. There is a clause, or is it New York state law or is it federal law? I don't know. I can't remember, but I know it is a law where they want to hold agents accountable for promising things that they don't have or can't deliver, right? But if we go back to NIL's inception, right, because the case had just got settled last week, remember Billy Napier had just got sued by Jaden Rashada for promising him $14 million and reneging on it once he got there. So I know that Billy Napier was held accountable for that, right? He got sued and he lost, and Jaden Daniels got paid some good money. So I want to understand how come we can't hold coaches hold coaches to that same level of accountability too, right? Because you ask any student athlete that has been in this iteration of college football in the last, we'll say, decade, they can all point or tell you a story about a coach lying to them, promising them playing time, promising them money, promising them this, that, and the third. So why can't they be held accountable the same way agents are held accountable? Right? So these are the inaccuracies and the inconsistencies that bother me. Right? And so when I do something from an agent's perspective or from an agency perspective, and the AFCA is trying to scrutinize the side that I'm on, I wanted just to be fair across the board. I'm okay with holding agents accountable for the things that they say to these kids, right? Because I operate with a level of integrity where I don't say things that I can't repeat to anyone else, and I don't promise things that I don't have, right? But if we're going to scrutinize agents that way, we need to scrutinize coaches that way too. Coaches and GMs of these college teams is what I'm saying. We need to scrutinize them the same way we're going to scrutinize agents. And so that's my biggest thing. I just want it fair across the board. So those are some of the top things, man, that I really been, wrestling around with for the last, couple weeks. And I really, again, haven't really said anything, but today was my day that I decided in my heart that I was going to say something on stream to just kind of get what I have to say out here, man. I know there's other people in the NIL and agency space that feel the same way as me, but I know they're probably scared to say something. I'm just not that person that's scared to say something because I have things and I have campaigns, I have financial literacy that I've done for these student athletes that I can point to, providing them real value that is that's on video, that's out here in this content world, right? That you can't refute. We have news stories, talking about what we have done for student athletes. So I can stand on anything that I say, right? The only thing, I'm not hiding behind the NFLPA certification, and it's cool. That's great. I would like to at least explore being an NFL agent, right? But all I'm saying is, what are you doing other than negotiating rev share and then just taking your, some people are saying 20%, some people are saying 10%, some people are saying 5%. I'll just say your percentage. What are you doing other than that? So again, that's just my whole thing, man. This is like really my soapbox to kind of vent these things. And like I said, I can actually talk about these things now because I'm not with a company who I deem to probably want to frown upon what I'm doing. Now, they never said anything to me about being a part of an agency and having an agency because they also had somebody else that had signed with an agency too. Another scout that was in Prep Red Zone signed with an agency too. So they never said anything to me about it, but just because of my situation with Rivals and what had happened with that whole situation, I didn't want to take that risk. But sometimes, you just can't sit for injustices. You have to speak up, right? And I feel like this is a very unfair narrative that has been pushed and painted about people who are agents and people who work in the agency space. And so again, like I said, I'm going to be the one that sits, and I'm going to be the one that stands up and speaks up, because this is something that I'm passionate about. This is something I want to do long term, right? And I understand that we're in the infancy space of this whole situation, and a lot of people don't really know how to deal with agents, right? Because they've never had to before. But that doesn't mean that I have to sit idly by again and let people consistently shit on agents. So that's just my little rant for the day, man. And so finally got to get that off my chest. I feel a lot better. I feel a lot better because I was holding that in for a while. And I know once I get these things out here in the content world, that I'm probably going to get a lot of flack from people, but I don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I said anything disrespectful. I'm just saying that I want accountability across the board. And if we're going to work in a free market capitalist society, let it be free market capitalist society. How come there's a certain group of people that can gatekeep, right? And we can apply my logic to many other places. I'm just speaking up about it in this specific instance. So that's just it, man. But let's get to some NFL draft talk, man. Let's get to some combine talk. I'm very excited for the NFL combine. Very excited to see some of my favorite prospects perform. Draft season. Yeah. So I was originally a scout. Like I originally started in scouting. Like that's where my love of football came. Well, my love of football really came playing football, right? I played football in high school and really didn't have the confidence to play in college, but that's where my love started. But my background is a scouting background, being able to see traits of players that can translate to X level, whether it's the collegiate level or the NFL level. I can, pretty much scout it all. Right. So this is the time of year. This is like the scout Super Bowl, the draft, the combine and the draft. So I'm very excited for it. So I kind of want to just go over this mock draft, man. This mock draft of where certain teams are gonna draft certain players. Everybody knows that I really love PFF. I really love what they do. So that's the mock draft that I'm using today. They have one of the better mock draft simulators also. So does the Draft Network. They have a really good mock draft simulator. I haven't seen any of the Draft Network stuff. I don't even know if they're still in existence. I hope they are. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just saying I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of their stuff. But so one player I'm excited to see this weekend, man, is my man. So PFF has as a number one pick by the Raiders is going to be quarterback Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. And I think he deserves to be the number one pick. I think he showed enough, especially under pressure, I'll say. Like, he showed enough to where I think he can handle himself on the NFL level. His ability to fit it into tight windows, too. Like, he really fits it into some small, narrow windows, and he showed that he has good enough arm strength. He shows his aggressiveness to push it downfield, but I think what really sets him apart is his smarts. Right, I was watching a breakdown yesterday of somebody breaking his tape down and just showing how quickly he processes information, and that's one of the things that is one of the more paramount traits for a quarterback. I feel like the quarterback position is like 90% mental. Like, if you can diagnose plays pre-snap, if you can handle the pressure, and if you can be decisive, and be accurate, I feel like you can play quarterback at a high level. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done, but I think Fernando shows enough to where we could trust him, right? And then you have Clint Kubiak, excuse me. Clint Kubiak coming over from Seattle, just fresh off of a Super Bowl win. I got on here last live and I said that I think that there should be a pairing of Ashton Genty and Kenneth Walker. I know that's not going to be popular, especially from a contract perspective. It's really not going to be something that's doable because right now the Raiders paid Ashton Genty, I believe it was $34 million all guaranteed. Where is it? I think he has like the second highest guarantee at sign. No, excuse me. They pay him $35 million guaranteed. He got more guaranteed money Then Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor for the production that Ashton Jeanty put out last year. And I'm not saying Ashton Jeanty is a bum. I'm not saying that he's not good. I'm just saying that based upon the year that he had last year, it wasn't encouraging. And as a result, in this new iteration of the NFL and what has been going on lately, having a strong running game seems to be a recipe of success. And what we want to do is we want to bring Fernando Mendoza along slowly. We don't want to rush his process. He did a lot of play action at Indiana, which is going to definitely translate nice to this Clint Kubiak system because I believe Clint Kubiak, is it him? I want to say he spent time with McVay, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I think he spent time with either Shanny or McVay. But he runs those similar types of concepts, heavy play action, deep crossers, strong running game, things like that. So I think with that offensive system coming over, with Fernando showing that he can play the game from a mental perspective and be cerebral, with him showing that he can handle pressure, with him showing that he can not only handle pressure with quick processing and decision making, but also, with his feet. If you saw that run against Miami, on that third down where he picked it up with his legs, like I feel like he's shown enough across the board to where the Raiders should feel really comfortable with taking him first overall. So I would, love that pick. But the Raiders do need, like I said on stream before, the Raiders do need to beef up that offensive line drastically. Obviously, you have a building block in Colton Miller, who has been the left tackle since he was drafted out of UCLA. But everything else needs to be gutted and redone. They've had a lot of duds between, Alex Leatherwood that they spent the high draft pick on, and, a lot of guys really haven't worked out across that O-line. So hopefully the Raiders, get that situation together and don't have Fernando, back there running for his life. But that goes back to my point about, Ashton Jeanty. It paired him up with, Kenneth Walker. I think that'll be a fantastic pairing. And again, it'll allow the Vegas Raiders to bring Fernando along slowly. And so that's what I would love, to see from the Jets. So I'm interested to see, what he runs. I'm interested to see him throw this weekend and just solidify everything that we already believe. Like he really don't need to throw, but because I know he is a competitor and because I know he's a really good kid, I think he's gonna go throw this weekend. I haven't heard any official reports whether he is or is not, but I'm assuming right now at 9:01 on, was it Tuesday evening, that he is going to run. So run and throw, excuse me. So yeah. And so next we have my man Ruben Bain Jr., edge rusher from Miami. The Jets desperately needs to reset their defensive line. Bain had an FBS high 83 pressures, and he offers enough strength and versatility to keep Miami's run defense last year too. Bain would immediately change the complexion of New York's defensive front on all downs. I've heard a lot of crap about his arms, his short arms, and he don't have the arm length to do this, that, and third. But what that young man can do is rush the passer. And they comped him to Melvin Ingram. And I think that's a solid comp. And if that was the, career trajectory, that he took, like that wouldn't be bad because at a certain point in time, Melvin Ingram's like a top 10, top 5 edge rusher in the league. You know what I mean? And so if that's the path that he'll go down, I would be very happy, taking him at the number 2 pick. And then also, I've seen Ruben Bain like single-handedly dominate games as an edge rusher, and that's where edge rushers really earn their value, with their ability to dominate the game individually, independently of anyone else on the defensive line. And if you're going to take an edge rusher with short arms, number 2 overall. I think that is what you want to see on tape. It's got an explosive first step, has good hand usage, very bendy around the edge. So I say it's a solid pick for the Jets. I've seen other mock drafts where they were going to take Caleb Downs. I'd be cool with that pick too. Caleb Downs, who is their saying is a game-changing safety. I'm with it. The Jets really just need a gut, and they need a reset on everything. They just need talent across the roster. They're one of those teams. They need talent fully across the entire roster. Obviously, they need to get the quarterback situation straight, but Aaron Glenn is a defensive coach. Obviously, they're going to build that defense, and since he was a DB, that's where his strong suit is going to be. So he's definitely going to have to do a job, because I don't know if anyone knows this, but the Jets did not record one interception last year. And when Saleh was the coach, that was never the thing. When Rex Ryan was the coach, that was never a thing. The Jets have, especially in the last decade, we know they haven't been able to get the quarterback position right, but they have always had solid defense, no matter what coach that they've had in the last decade. So for them now, besides Adam Gase, but for them now to go win a season with a defensive coach where they didn't even, record an interception, and then it looks even worse when you trade away your best corner. I want to see the Jets make some serious strides, man. So, going back to my point, I would love to see Ruben Bain as an edge, and the Jets do have a great history of drafting edge rushers that are productive. So that'd be cool. Next pick is Arizona, picking Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. A lot of people think that Arvell Reese is one of the more talented players in the draft, and if you watch him, like if you just watched him and you didn't know who he is, he is, the way he plays is just like, yo, who is that? He just looks the part, he moves the part, just everything you want out of a solid linebacker prospect. Arvell Reese gives you that same thing, and then he was also, shown the ability to play off and on the ball as a linebacker, even though he only had, I believe it was 98 pass rushing snaps. Between I forgot what school Reese came before. What school he came to before Ohio State, but he's only had 98, pass rushing snaps. So, I think he could just be a player that you just move all around the defense and just be a dog. But to be honest with you, I really don't like this for Arizona, because I feel like their defense is okay already. And I feel like they need to make a decision on, first of all, they need to make a decision on whether they're going to bring Kyler Murray back and if he's going to be the quarterback for the present. I would think with Mike LaFleur coming in, is it Mike LaFleur or Matt LaFleur? I think it's Mike. Mike LaFleur coming in and coming from that McVay system and spending time with McVay. Like, I would think that he would keep Kyler. Like I had said on a previous stream, like, Kyler is, I know he's inconsistent, but he's still dynamic at the same time. And I don't want to give that up for, because who are their other options? Kirk Cousins, Malik Willis, Who else are the other free agent quarterbacks? Kirk Cousins, Malik Willis. There was Tua. Like, who are their other options? Like, out of all of those three guys that I just named, I'd rather have Kyler Murray. He's more dynamic than all of those guys. Justin Fields, like, he's more dynamic than those guys. And I feel like he can make plays out of structure. Again, yes, I know he's inconsistent. I know he has issues with studying his playbook. I know he has all of these things that they hit him on, and they are very fair criticisms. However, right now, with this draft being bare of quarterbacks and there not being, to me, great options at quarterback too, and then you got Geno Smith in there too. I wouldn't hate Geno Smith at the Cardinals, but I personally would rather have Kyler Murray. So based upon what I've just said, I think I just talked myself into having Kyler. So I think they're going to stick with Kyler. So I'm saying that to say that as a result, I think that this should be an offensive pick. This should be like an offensive lineman. It's not like their line is great, right? They got Paris Johnson. I mess with him, but they need a lot more, especially on that interior. So I would love to see them, make a pick that'll build around Kyler. I feel like right now they do have enough pieces at the pass catching position with McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Michael Wilson. I think that's enough. So I would be, okay. I wouldn't like this pick. I wouldn't want them to make a pick, that helps Kyler out if that was the route they was gonna go. So that's number 3. Arvell Reese is definitely a dog, and he is definitely appreciate you, Jackson, man, liking the live. I appreciate you stopping in here, bro. Keep doing your thing on the football field, man. um, so number 4 is Tennessee Titans edge. Oh, Justice, my fault, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep thinking Jackson. Thank you for correcting me, Justice. Keep doing your thing. I saw you. I saw you throwing the football at that 7-on-7, man. Keep doing your thing. Hopefully, we'll see you in the league one day, and I'm on live talking about you as a quarterback prospect. Only good things, though. Only good things. But so in this mock draft, PFF's mock draft, number 4, the Tennessee Titans are going to select edge rusher David Bailey. David Bailey, edge rusher from Texas Tech, who came over from Stanford. They're saying this is the synopsis on him. I haven't really watched a lot of David Bailey. A lot of people love him, but this is what the synopsis is. It says head coach Robert Saleh takes a ton of pride in his 4-man pass rush, and the Titans need to upgrade their edge defender unit. Texas Tech, David Bailey led the FBS with a 93.8 PFF pass rush grade and 15 sacks in the past season. Considering the Titans' pass rush needs, this is a near perfect match. Don't hate that at all. Yeah, I think David Bailey is solid. Here's my only thing though. Like, you do have a defensive coach, right? And so in this pick, right, for Tennessee, although they do need help at pass rusher, they need to put more weapons around Cam Ward, especially if you have Dable now, right, who has been a guy that has shown that he can develop quarterbacks and choose quarterbacks. Chosen Jackson Dart, work with Josh Allen, work with a bunch of good quarterbacks that came out of Alabama. So he has a track record of working with good quarterbacks. This pick, number 4, they should trade back. They should trade back and get a guy like Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson or Carnell Tate, like another guy that can help Cam Ward develop. In this day and age, you really can't win without a solid wide receiving option. Let's look at the Seahawks. Like, look at how they're built, right? They had a journeyman quarterback, quote unquote. They had a solid running game, and they had one stud wide receiver in JSN, right? So obviously you need a top pass catching option to be, a functioning offense. And so right now we know that Tennessee Titans don't have that. Eric Ayumaner, to me, was their best wide receiver. And then they had the other dude, DK, who was all right. But other than that, and then they have Calvin Ridley too. But Calvin Ridley has massively underperformed based upon what he was paid by the Titans. So the question is, who is going to be that person, that receiver, that threat for them in the passing game for Cam Ward that he can go to when things break down? And they don't have that. It has been Eric Ayumaner, who I like coming out of Stanford, right? But I want it to be Carson Shane. What's good with you, bro? Appreciate you hopping in the live. But other than Ayumaner, like, I don't feel like Cam Ward has another pass catching weapon that he can exhaust and work with. So I know Tennessee probably is going to be the pick. It's probably going to be an edge rusher. Might be Arvell Reese, honestly. But I think that they need to trade back. And I think they need to get themselves a competent weapon for Cam Ward or get Jeremiah Love. That's why I'm saying trade back. I'm not a running backs in the first round type of guy, and that's something I'm going to talk about too. I'm not a running backs in the first round guy, but Jeremiah Love, though, is that guy. And if you got a guy like that that's in the draft, But I'm not actually. I'm gonna retract that take because there's a difference. Like when the Lions took Jahmyr Gibbs, like they had took a lot of players because I believe in that same draft they took Laporta and they took I believe not Penei Sewell. They took Laporta and then a couple other players that they hit on. I believe they took Jack Campbell and Michael Rodriguez. So they hit on a lot of and JMO. They took a lot of players that they hit on, right? So Jahmyr Gibbs was entering into a situation that a lot of people where the Lions had hit on a lot of picks, right? So their entire team was really just, at another level and they already had a good offensive line. So he just obviously we know that offensive line running back success is dependent on O-line success. And so I don't want to argue against myself. Like Jeremiah Love is cool, but if you don't have an offensive line, that can, move people, then that's going to be an issue. They drafted J.C. Latham, who didn't pan out, and they drafted another offensive lineman that didn't pan out either. I forgot what it was. It was a kid with the Peter Skronsky, that hasn't really panned out like that either. They're only been in the league like 2 years, and offensive linemen are coming into the league underdeveloped. So I do want to give them a little bit of grace, but I would rather go with a pass catching option than a running back option for the Titans. So, but edge rusher David Bailey is probably going to be the pick, and I trust if Saleh makes this pick, I trust him because he's shown us that he can do it. Drafted Jermaine Johnson, drafted Quinnen Williams, drafted the other kid that they had from Iowa State too, that was stupid athletic. They had him, so he has a record of drafted Carl Lawson. Right, he has a record of drafting solid defensive linemen and getting them to be productive. So I would love that pick. Also, number 5 is the beloved New York Giants. New York Giants are a team that I really like. Especially I like their coaching, choice. I love John Harbaugh. Yeah, John Harbaugh. But it's saying that New York Giants are going to take tackle Francis Muaga from Miami, Florida. And this is the synopsis that PFF gave for that pick. They said New York should aim to get younger on the offensive line this offseason, particularly with right guard Greg Van Roten and right tackle Jermaine Illuminor entering free agency. Muaga will be an immediate starter on the right side, recording an excellent 87.0 pass blocking grade in 2025. And like you really can't argue this too, man, because Miami's line was one of their more solid units, and I think Muaga really showed what he could do in the national championship and in the playoff game before that. I'm always a fan of taking offense, especially tackles early in the draft, especially if you really feel like a guy is going to be that solidifying force for you as a tackle. Then I believe you take him, especially high. Because it all starts with everything starts with the offensive line. It doesn't matter, where you go. It all starts with the offensive line, and the Giants have been trying to get, their offensive line solidified for 2 or 3 years now, right? And now that they have a quarterback who's showing some promise in Jackson Dart, who can do some things and can make some plays, like it will behoove them to take a solid left tackle. If this isn't the pick, I'm also a fan of a trade back because I believe that they need to finally freaking move on from Darius Slay. I don't even understand why he is still even on that team, right? But anyway, I would love to see them draft another wide receiver for Carson Shane. Golly, I'm looking at Carson Shane right here. Let me stop. I'm tripping. Another weapon for Jackson Dart. Golly, bro. Another weapon for Jackson Dart. Malik Neighbors is coming off injury, and I just think it's a great idea to solidify that spot. I mean, they don't really have a lot of juice in the pass catching options, if you ask me, besides Wan'Dale Robinson. Though I do like Wan'Dale in the slot. But I'll be a huge fan of a trade back for them and just get more offensive pieces. And grabbing at least 2 or 3 offensive linemen. Like, I know I'm advocating for a wide receiver right now, but I would not be mad at all with them trading back and getting more offensive pieces for Jackson Dart. Like, you have to get pass catchers around your franchise quarterback in order for them to develop. You have to get playmakers. And Jackson has shown that he can, buy time, navigate in the pocket, and make plays with his legs. Like his only issue is that he needs to protect himself when he is running and taking these massive hits. So I think the Giants would, do really good with this picking tackle Francis Mwaga. I'm interested to see what he looks like at the combine, so I can get a deeper dive into what he actually looks like. But I think the New York Giants are on an upward trend because they have new leadership, and when new leadership comes in, usually that puts a jolt into the entire organization to where they take it off to new heights. So I didn't really get to everything that I wanted to get to today. I kind of went off on these rants about NIL and where I'm at right now in terms of my job situation. There wasn't really people in this live anyway, so I'll probably just use this for mass amounts of content. But again, I appreciate everybody who stopped through the live. I thought when you go live a lot later, you usually get more people in here. But I'm gonna keep again trying to be consistent and going live and doing these and trying to interact with the fans and trying to interact with the chat. I appreciate everybody, man, and tune into my next live, man. I'll probably have more juicy stories for you, and then I'll probably give my combine reactions, like my winners and losers from the combine.